Welcome back to the Chaos and Carry-Ons podcast with your two favorite hosts, Shelby
and Stephanie.
Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride. Join the journey, come inside.
Okay, in today's episode, we have a special guest. So our first official guest episode. So we're going to shoot for every 10 episodes to have a guest. And our first guest is my cousin Shana, who we talked about 2 episodes ago. If you heard the Snow Chronicles, we talked about her wedding in Colorado. So welcome, Shana.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I feel so honored to be your first guest. My name is Shana, and I live in Colorado with my husband, Evan, and our 2 sweet girls. Kennedy is 9, and Isla is 3. I actually grew up in Alabama, close to Shelby, and that's where I lived until I was 25. And then I got a teaching job and met my husband and moved down to Pensacola, Florida. And it was so cool to live there because I grew up vacationing, like in Gulf Shores and stuff down there at the beach. So it was so cool to live there. But he was getting out of the Marines, and we knew that we were going to move to Colorado because that was where he was from and where his family was at. And so he got out and we moved to Colorado. So we've been here 9 years, and I love it. I love the weather and the views and the things to do. It's such a cool place to live, and I'm so happy here. I miss my family and everything in Alabama, but really love Colorado. We love traveling, and our bucket list is to go to all of the national parks. So we are on a journey to make that happen.
So today's episode, we're going to talk about national parks. So they have a little tradition that they do, and I'll let her talk more about that. But she is the national park pro. She probably doesn't think that she's a pro, but she's definitely more of a pro than me because I think I've been to 2 national parks.
I definitely am not a pro.
Yeah, I don't think I've been to any. Well, I guess if you count the Smoky Mountains, is that a national park?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's one of my 2.
Okay.
And you'll find out if that falls in one of our least favorite categories.
Okay.
Don't hold all of them to that standard.
Okay, so we have a few questions for Shana, but first, Stephanie was left with questions when I talked about Shana's wedding and the snow. Stephanie had questions that I couldn't answer because I was just, I don't know, my mind was combobulated because of the snow drama that I don't remember much about the wedding itself. So I'm going to let Stephanie take over and ask Shana these questions.
Okay, it's funny that you say that because I actually just listened to that podcast last night to refresh my memory about that whole story. And still it was funny, you like listening to it back, you can tell that I've never heard this before.
I'm surprised because that's one of Shelby's most traumatic stories.
I know. But when I was listening to it back and you were saying that you had only been married a year, okay, so we did talk, and I think we've said that in another episode. Like we talked before Shelby even got married, but that was more like Duggar talk. It wasn't like best friend back and forth talk. So I do remember you going there, but I don't remember any of that. So my main question was who ended up marrying you in the living room?
Okay, so in the state of Colorado, you can marry yourself. So basically, you can have the marriage certificate, and all each of you have to do is sign it with a witness. And then you're married. So we did have Evan's childhood best friend. His dad is actually the one that married us. He's like a second dad to Evan, and so he is the one that basically like performed our wedding. And yeah, he was there. They were able to make it, and so it was fun. And actually, Shelby, your mom signed as my witness on our marriage certificate, so her name is on her marriage certificate.
I'm sure she loves that.
That's what I was just thinking.
She probably has a copy of it framed in her bedroom too.
It was so important. No, yeah, so
Yeah.
you can marry yourself in Colorado. And so Evan's mom and stepdad, they got married a few months after us, and they just went on a hike, and it was really beautiful. And when they found like the perfect spot that they wanted, they just stopped and they just said their vows to each other and signed their paper, and they just got married them too. That's how they did it.
That is
With nobody
really
there?
cool.
Yeah, just them two.
Okay, that's bizarre. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, there's other states that do it as well.
Okay.
Well, thanks for
Yeah.
clarifying that because she asked me who married you, and I was like, I don't know. My mind was still in that ice on the interstate.
What was hilarious is I didn't realize how traumatic it was for y'all. And when y'all get there, I remember I was so happy and joyful and just like ready to go, and y'all were just looking at me like I don't even know. And I remember my mom was just like, I need a minute. And like I had to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, what is the problem? And I knew it took a while for y'all to get there. I didn't realize how bad it was though. Yeah, so I'm getting ready on my wedding day alone. Well, except with my cousin Justin, who is a boy. And I was like, I never thought I would be getting ready for my wedding day with my cousin Justin, but here we are. And my mom texted and she was like, I don't think we're gonna make it. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you have to be here. Like, what is going on? I had no idea it was that bad.
That is really, really funny.
I forgot about you getting ready with Justin. That just made my
Yeah.
day because I completely forgot about that part.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Steph and I talked about this before. Like, we tried to compile a list of just like random questions, and we always do highs and lows at the end of every episode. So, we added that in too. So, the first thing I want you to talk about is well, I mean, I told them this is about national parks, but as of right now, they don't really know what your tradition is. And so, why don't you talk a little bit about that first?
Okay, so our tradition of going to national parks kind of started. We talked about it briefly before we were married. And on our honeymoon, we went to Jamaica, which is obviously not a national park. But on that trip, I feel like there's two types of people, the people that like to relax on vacations, and then the ones that like to do all the adventures and do all of the things. And they usually marry each other. And that was me and Evan. I wanted to relax, and he wanted to do all of the adrenaline things, like all the adventures. And so he had me climbing waterfalls and jumping off rocks into water, swimming with the dolphins, like swimming in the lagoon at night. The Luminous Lagoon in Jamaica, that's still our number one thing that we've ever done. By the way, highly recommend that. But so yeah, so we kind of started off our marriage doing exciting things. And to be fair though, it wasn't all him because I bought us tickets to go parasailing before we were married. And I don't know what I was thinking because that was terrifying. Once I got up there, I was like, why did I do this? I don't know if you have you been, Shelby? Didn't
I
you
have.
go?
I've been parasailing multiple times and I love it. So I'm very
Really?
shocked to hear you say that because that's one of my favorite things to do.
Oh,
Yeah, you're
okay.
not going to catch me on one of those.
Yeah. It was scary once I had no idea how high up they go.
Hmm.
It was insane. But yeah, so I kind of before we got married, bought those tickets, and so I probably seemed adventurous to Evan, and some those that know me know that I'm not all that way. But anyway, after that, we decided like that national parks would be kind of like our bucket list thing for our lives. And so yeah, we try to go to one a year at the least. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and sometimes we do multiple in a year. So it kind of just depends.
So
But
tell us, can you give a run through of the national parks that you've been to so far?
yes, so far I've been to 10 of there's I think 63. So I've been to 10. So like I said, I'm not a pro at all. So these are in no particular order, but I've been to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. That's here in Colorado. It is so beautiful. There's huge sand dunes that look like you're in Egypt. And then behind those, you have the mountain ranges with snow and stuff. It's just incredible. The best part about that one is there's snow melt running down, and it makes this really shallow, like running river or creek, and the kids can play in it. And it is just like, it's magical. That one is just so cool. And it's the largest sand dunes in North America. Um,
That's
I've
really
been
cool.
to, yeah, Black Canyon of the Gunnison. That's also here in Colorado. It was cool. It was not my favorite. It's lots of canyons. Um, and we actually went down this really steep road to this beautiful river and views of the mountains. It was so worth it. But steep drives are my least favorite. And this drive down there is 16% grade. And just
Mm.
for reference, Mont Eagle is like 6%.
Oh my
So it's
goodness.
like it's extremely steep. It actually didn't scare me though. It wasn't the scariest road I've ever been on. Um, there's actually one near there called the $1 Million Highway, and it's like named that, I guess, for the $1 million views, but some say like the early travelers said I wouldn't travel that for $1 million.
Yeah,
And
I've heard of that. I've heard of that
yeah,
highway.
I have to.
there's no guardrails. It's super steep drop-offs, sharp turns.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, did I mention no guardrails? Like, no,
Mm-mm.
thank you. When we
No.
were there, we were in the car one day, and Evan was trying to convince me to for us to go that way, and I was like freaking out. I was like, absolutely not. Like, I will get out of this car. Do not go that way. I'm not doing it.
Mm-mm.
Um, we did Badlands and Wind Cave in South Dakota. They were good. They're not super memorable, to be honest. And obviously, everybody has their own opinions and stuff. But the Wind Cave was a cave, and that's about it. So I'm claustrophobic, and so I used to love doing caves, but I don't know. But we were doing a tour with a large group of people, and you have to like walk to get to it, and so like there was no way I could back out, and so I had to do it. And what was hilarious was that we were at the end of the group of like, I'm talking like 60 people. We were at the back, and the tour guide like put us in charge of making sure everybody got through the door and went down and all this stuff. And I was like,
Mhm.
dude, put the wrong person in charge because I'm the one that's going to be like leaving. But that it was fun. Those were fun, but actually one of the coolest parts about that trip to South Dakota was at the national parks. We saw Mount Rushmore, which was neat, but we went to this place called Bear Country, and
Mhm.
they have like wolves and bears, like grizzly bears and stuff. And like you drive through, and they're like literal feet from your car. And so it was so fun. The kids, that was like the highlight, and kind of the highlight for us too. We actually loved that part.
So
Um,
which national park had that? Where was that at?
so that's in South Dakota, and we went to Badlands National Park and Wind Cave. And
So it's
so,
near that, but it's
yeah,
not part of the
no,
national park.
no. So Mount Rushmore is close to there, and this place called Bear Country. So one of the cool things about national parks is there's often stuff near them
Mm-hmm.
that is just as cool as the national park.
Add that
So
to our list, Stephanie.
I
yeah,
know.
the kids, like Kennedy said, she wants to go back so bad. She loved it so much.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah. We done Arches National Park. I want to say that was my first one. Um, it's like 6 hours from where we live in Colorado, and I think that's one of the first ones we've done. Um, Arches is beautiful. I'm sure you've seen pictures of the arches and stuff, but to see them in
Mm-hmm.
person was so cool. That one, my husband took us on a really scary hike. He just started off on this hike, and I should have known. I should have known because guess what the hike's name was? It was called the Devil's Garden.
Oh,
Oh my
If that
goodness.
wasn't a clue, it should have been. And yeah, it was like an 8 or 9 mile trail, like that took all day. And we were not equipped for that. And also, it was an extremely hard trail. And there were some parts that were so scary that I was like, if I slip, I'm going to fall off of this and die. Like it was that crazy. I don't know how
Mm-mm.
they just let anybody do that. I actually looked it up like 9 years later on the All Trails app, and it's rated as hard. And I don't even do moderate hikes.
If there's a will, there's a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So, but other than that, it was awesome. Um, and then not far from Arches is Canyonlands. And so we did that. I can't remember if we spent half a day there or a whole day. There's some trails, at the top of the canyon, where you can look down. It looks like a mini version of the Grand Canyon. I'm assuming I haven't
Hmm.
been to the Grand Canyon, but and there's one beautiful arch overlooking the canyon called Mesa Arch. It's actually really popular. I'm sure you've seen a picture of it. Actually on our kitchen, like Alexa, the one that has a screen, it comes up as a screensaver all the time. So that was
Mm.
popular, but those two are really close. And then Rocky Mountain National Park's another one here in Colorado. That's only like 3 hours from us. Um, it is so incredibly beautiful. Um, and there's so much wildlife there. There's the lakes, the mountains, rivers and creeks, and then there's like they're known for herds of elk. And like the elk will be like down in the town, like in the parking lots, like elk everywhere. Um, and the town near there is Estes Park, and it's super cute. But yeah, that's only 3 hours from our house, and we've been there several times. It's so cool. And then, so my favorite park that we've done, I think this is the last one, Olympic National Park. Oh no, actually,
Oh,
we've done Mount Rainier in Washington. That one was really good. Um, we didn't plan well, so we didn't get to do a lot there. Um, which I can talk about in a little bit. But our favorite that we've ever done is Olympic National Park in Washington. So it's on the very like west coast. Um, and it's like if you've watched Twilight, it was filmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The
Heard
very
of
like
that.
woodsy,
Mm.
coastal, rainy, like what was so cool about this park is that it is like it's got like four ecosystems in one. So there's like they have a rainforest, and then they have like the alpine, like high mountaintops, and then they have the lowland forest, and then they have the coastal um, woods, like the beaches and stuff.
hmm.
And it was just incredible. And in one park, you get to experience all these different things. It looks like you travel for I don't know how long to get to all these different places, but no, it's like in one park.
So how long did you stay there? Because I know you planned for that one. I think you were out here just a few weeks before y'all went because I remember you like really planning and looking forward to
Oh
that.
yeah.
So how long did you stay there?
We stayed there I can't remember, it was 5 or 6 days. I think we did the park
Okay.
4 days, and then we had like the day we got there and then like the day we left. But yeah, I was so excited about this. I just knew from the pictures this was going to be my favorite park. And I put
Hmm.
in so much time planning this trip. And I think that's part of the reason why it turned out so well, because the other ones I've
Hmm.
never planned this much. And yeah, it was so dreamy. It just was amazing. The park was amazing. And then yeah, I had an itinerary. Like I did all of the things. I put things in order. I prioritized what we wanted to see. Um, we just were totally prepared for this park, which you have to be, I feel like, because it's so big. Um,
Hmm.
it's so big that like we stayed in one place, and so one day like the rainforest is the farthest away from us. So like we were in the car like 2 or 3 hours driving to that. So like you have to plan really thoughtfully. Some people stay like on one side and they go in one side of the park, and then the next day they pack up and they go to the other side and they stay there. I hate packing and unpacking, so and with the kids, it was just easier for us to drive than to pack everything up and repack it, and just move to different places to stay.
So did you implement this much planning for all of your trips? Is that something that came later because now you have kids in the mix, or is it just because you've done so many that now you're more prepared? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so at the beginning, like some of them we didn't prepare for at all, like Mount Rainier, which I had a 4-month-old, so I didn't really care. I was like just surviving. And
Hmm.
we didn't prepare at all. And like, okay, where we were staying in Washington, you put it in your maps, Mount Rainier. And so it takes you there, but like that's just the entrance. And then you have to drive further to see things. I did not research at all. I didn't know what things we wanted to see. I didn't know where things were. And at the entrance of this park, there was nobody there, so they weren't handing out maps or anything. So we're just driving blindly, like, and unfortunately, we wasted a lot of time because we didn't know where we were going, and we just missed some things. So, it ended up working out. We got on top of this mountain, and there's this crystal clear blue lake below, and like a meadow and wildflowers. And I have one of my favorite pictures of me and the girls from there. So like it worked out, but I feel like, we wasted a lot of time. So because of that trip
Mm-hmm.
and some of the other ones, I'm like, okay, if we're going to these national parks, like I need to plan better because oftentimes you don't have service, and so you can't look up things when you're in there. And then sometimes like you have to drive further, so like you just need to be prepared to know like where you're going and what you want to do. So yeah, that all the planning kind of came later, um, with having kids, and then I don't know, just being excited about the Olympic National Park. I was like, I'm going out there and I want to see all of these things. Like I don't want to miss anything.
So did she say where that you stayed at these national parks? Was if you said it, I missed it. Like, were you like camping out there, or you were staying, like, where were you staying at?
Absolutely not camping. I'm not a camper. So for most of them, we had either a hotel room or a cabin, or an Airbnb. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, and like our favorite things probably do like rent a cabin, an Airbnb. Like, it's just really fun, and like I don't know, it just immerses you in the surroundings. That's different than like staying at a hotel there. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's our favorite thing to do.
So, what would you say? Well, I know you on your list, you didn't even say the Smokies, but you did mention that that might be the worst. So, that's what I was going to ask is like, what is the worst park and why that you've been to?
Yeah, so actually I just totally forgot about the Smokies. That kind of tells you how I feel about it. Um, you know, we went there. I didn't plan to be there very long. I think we planned like half a day or a day. This was like my first time leaving Isla when she was like a year and a half old. We went up to the Smokies and we wanted to do, the Smokies, the national park there. And I didn't really plan well. I just wanted to do like the drive, around Cates Cove. And
Mm-hmm.
so it, we saw no animals. Actually, we did see an owl at the very end, but like no animals at all. It
I don't know
looks
that I
like
would even count
home.
that.
Yeah, it looks like home, which is so beautiful, but like to me, it wasn't anything different, And so, no animals. We got stuck behind these people that were going so slow. I don't even know what they were looking at because there was nothing to look at. And it was just like, it was so boring. And um, yeah, we just were like, yeah, that wasn't it. Which I know there's hiking trails and stuff, and that probably would have made it better. But just like driving through it, it was quite boring.
So where's the
Mm-hmm.
place that you've seen the most animals?
I would say Rocky Mountain National Park. We have seen so many animals there. Um, I mean, right outside of our cabin, like the first day, there was a bear and a bear cub. And like we were out on the porch watching them, like super close to us. Like I said, there's so many elk there. They have the largest elk herds. We actually went one night. Evan wanted to do this drive. You drive up the mountain like on this gravel back road, and we saw a moose. It was so cool. We get to the top, and you get out and you walk up all these stairs, and we watch the sunset, and like you're on this highest point, and there's nothing higher around you, so you feel like you're on top of the world watching the sunset. It was incredible. And that
Mm.
night when we were driving back down, we stopped. There's these elk, and there all of a sudden there's this herd of elk of like 200 plus elk just right in front of our car. And we're just sitting there, we're the only car, and we're just watching them. It was unbelievable.
Hmm. That
Um,
sounds neat.
That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
we saw a moose with a baby, like, I can't even remember all the animals we've seen there, but I would definitely say probably Rocky Mountain is where we have seen the most animals for sure.
So, how long do you think this tradition will keep going? Do you think this is something that you'll do for life? Or, like, do you think once you've seen all of the national parks, then you'll call it quits? Like, what do you think?
I definitely think it's going to take like all of our life to probably get to them. So, and there's some that we already want to go back to. Like I could go back to Olympic and Arches, like, and I would go back to Rocky Mountain. Like, I still haven't seen everything in all of those. There's some where like I've been there, done that. Like, there's no need to go back. But then there's some where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I could go back and spend another week there exploring. But yeah, I think we'll keep doing this. I think it'll take it's going to take our whole lives probably, especially like some of them are harder to get to. And then like, I can't wait to do like the ones in Alaska one day, but I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
going to have to be multiple trips because of how big Alaska is. So yeah, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to take a while to get through all of them.
So, what's the next one on the list?
So the next one on our list is I'm not sure if it's going to be Mesa Verde, which is in Colorado, because it's the last one in Colorado we need to see, and it's only 6 hours away from us. And Kennedy is in fourth grade, and so she's doing state history, and so I'm like, oh, this will be the perfect year to do that one. But I'm not super excited about it. It's just like the cliff dwellings, like that the like ancient Pueblo people did, the cliff dwellings into the side of the mountains, like where they lived.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just from like a brief research of that, that's all it looks like. So I don't think it's gonna be very exciting. So I'm not, yeah, I'm not like dying to go there, but it is near a place called Pagosa Springs, and that's one of Evan's grandparents' favorites like places, and we love hot springs. So, you know, that's one thing like we could do along with that. But other than that, Evan is like ready to go to Yellowstone, and you can do Grand Teton National Park because it's really close. Um,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but FYI, we've never watched that show. That's not why he's wanting to go or anything. But
I
uh,
haven't
You
watched it
should watch
either.
that show because it's amazing.
it is.
We love it. We're big Yellowstone fans.
Yeah, I've never
Well,
seen it either.
yeah, but I haven't either. Yeah. So I can't wait to do Glacier National Park. That's high up on my list because that's where they have like the like super clear lake, with like you can see the colorful rocks at the bottom, and I can't wait to do that.
What state is that in?
Um, is it Montana?
That's what I was thinking because we had planned to do Yellowstone last year. Both of my parents turned 50, and my dad has wanted to go out west his entire life, like up to that part. And so we had planned that trip. That was pre cancer. And mom and dad were going to stay longer and go to Glacier. And so I was thinking it was in that area, but I couldn't remember what state it was in.
Yeah, Glacier, I'm pretty sure it's Montana. I also can't wait to do the Sequoia National Park. I did a research paper in like seventh or eighth grade on the sequoia trees, and since then I'm like, I have got to go see these.
It'd be neat.
Yeah.
Is there somewhere that most people, if they're listening and they have small kids, it's like this is the one I would recommend that's easiest if you have a lot of small kids. Because when I think of national park, that's what I think of as a lot of hiking, which I was surprised when you were talking because I was thinking, okay, they're driving through some of these.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to think about. Some of the hikes, like Black Canyon of the Gunnison, you're walking on these trails that are kind of steep, and you're going to like the edge of these drop-offs, and the railing is like super wide. And so I was a nervous wreck, but like we had Isla in like a hiking backpack. But like if you didn't have that, I mean, you would have to hold their hand and not take your eyes off of them. It would be really scary. So that's one thing to consider some of these places, like, just making sure like you're watching out for your small kids. But yeah, as far as driving, yeah, you do spend a lot of time in the car. I think we're very blessed. Our kids are, I don't know, they do really well in the car and they like looking out the window at stuff. So that is one thing to think about if you have a hard time with kids in the car. You definitely probably want to plan a trip where you're not driving so much.
Yeah.
But Olympic, even though we drove the most out of any national park there, that was the kids' favorite. I mean, we just stopped often. There was so much to see, and it was just amazing. That like they loved the rainforest and the beaches were like their favorite part. Um, and so it was worth it being in the car. You know, they get back in the car and they're super tired and they're just like chill or falling asleep. So it worked out
Hmm.
well.
So what are your best tips for planning a national park trip? Like, I mean, I know she asked very similar about with small kids, but where did you get your ideas when you were planning? Do you do Pinterest or TikTok or
Yeah, I do. I use all of those. My main tip is like plan, and plan some more. Um, and then like you got to decide like when you're taking your trip, like what time of the year, because some of these have like peak seasons, and there's some I don't want to go to during the peak season because it's just so crowded. But then there's some like Arches National Park is in Moab, and it's a desert, and so like you don't want to go there in the summer. It would be way too
Mhm.
hot. And then like Rocky Mountain National Park, like you don't want to go there in the winter because of the snow, like some of the roads close. And so you kind of want to plan based on what time of the year you're taking your trip, and then keeping in mind how far you're going to travel, and then like how many days you have, because some of these parks you can do in one day. Some of them you need like 3 or 4 days to see everything. So I would think about that too. Um, and then also like some of them you can hit multiple, like Arches National Park and Canyonlands were close, and then Badlands and Wind Cave are close. So like depending on where you go, you may be able to do multiple parks. Um, and yeah, so I research online. Look at Google Images. I looked on Pinterest. I looked on Instagram. I watched YouTube videos. Those are really helpful to like get an actual visual of what things look like and where to go and stuff. And then
Mhm.
from all that research, I just make lists like crazy of all the things we want to see, and I put them in order, like what's the priority, if we can't get to everything, like put our high stuff, at the top of the list, and then plan around that and where things are and stuff. Make lists of places to eat. If somebody recommended something, I would write it down. Um, I think that helps so much.
you really should start a blog because I mean, like you're using these resources for your planning and like your information. You should start a blog and put it out there for other people.
I thought about it when I was researching for Olympic, because as I was like trying to search on YouTube and like tips for traveling there with kids, there was like one family that had some videos on there. That's all I could find. And so I was like, yeah, somebody needs to do more research and share it with people, especially families. Like there was lots of people like couples traveling, without kids and talking about these extreme hikes and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we can't do that. So yeah, there needs to be more people like with families so that, other families feel like they can be equipped to go do these things.
I actually had that on the list, but Shelby doesn't know it for us to see about doing when we take a cruise to Alaska.
Oh
You know, me
yeah.
and Shelby make these lists for each other, but hers is like me staying at the Fort Wilderness Lodge.
Shut up.
Mine is dragging her to that national park and then taking an Alaskan cruise. Mine was a little more extravagant than hers,
Y'all should totally do it.
but when you said that, I was like, oh, okay. That was on my list. I know somebody that did it, but it's kind of like you said. I remember her saying that there was not a lot that she could find before that she went.
Yeah, there's not. And yeah, you need several days there, like to see everything. I actually bought an itinerary for that trip from a lady that was like a former national park ranger and had worked there. So she had lots of insight and it was super helpful. And she had an itinerary for like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, like based on how long you were going to be there. But yeah, I highly recommend it. That one with kids is so fun.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I don't know if you ever looked at the picture, Shelby.
I've seen Shayna's pictures, and that's what I was going to tell her to send us some pictures so we can post them on the Chaos and Carry On Instagram when this goes
I
live.
will. I
Yeah.
was looking at some. I'll have to send y'all some. But yeah, some my tips is just plan and then like for daily trips, especially like in a national park because you're driving sometimes for a long time, is like pack everything. We always rent like a minivan and it's the best when traveling. But like we pack, first aid stuff, a power bank for your phone and phone chargers because a lot of these places you don't have any cell phone service. And so your phone kind of the battery drains faster. And then
Hmm.
we always pack food, in case sometimes we're not anywhere to eat. So we always pack food and lunches and extra food, extra food, extra food because the kids, are so hungry after hiking and stuff. And then like
Hmm.
with Olympic, we packed lots of extra clothes and even extra shoes because we did the rainforest and the beaches in one day. And so you can imagine the kids are like jumping in puddles and like getting their feet wet in the ocean and stuff. So we just
Hmm.
had the car loaded down with all kinds of stuff. Like if I thought we might need it, I brought it. And it was so nice because we were like 3 hours from our cabin. So you can't just like turn around and get some shoes if your kids get their socks and shoes wet. And there's like not a lot of stores, or any stores. I don't remember passing any stores. So yeah, you gotta like have everything you might need. Um, and y'all talked about using the Shaka app when y'all were in Hawaii. I highly recommend. There's an app called Guide Along that we used, and it was like a tour guide in your car, and it was incredible. That was one of our favorite parts because he just talked about things that you would never know and like lots of history, like super interesting. And then he would tell you things like, oh, coming up on the right, if you take this road, you'll go back here and you'll see this. Like you would have never found that otherwise.
Hmm. So is that for all, like, does that have options for many national parks or was it just for Olympic?
It has options for all different national parks. It costs a little
Hmm.
bit of money and it was worth every penny. I mean, you somehow, I think you download it or something, and so it works without service because, like I said, you don't have service a lot of times. And it knows your GPS, and so it'll tell you, like, coming up on the right, here's this. And so,
That's exactly how the Shaka app was.
yeah,
I think it was between $20-$30 for the Shaka app, but it was so worth it.
yeah, that's how
Yeah.
much this one costs, I think, like $25. Yeah, worth every penny. That made the trip like so enjoyable.
Another app that I highly recommend is the All Trails app. So if you're going to do any kind of hiking, even if it's shorter trails, this app is so worth it. It shows you trails near you, it shows you how long they are, the difficulty level, it shows you if it's an out and back or a loop, it shows you elevation gain. I think some of them even say like if they're stroller friendly or things like that. But it helps you to find trails and then kind of know what you're getting into before you go. And it's super helpful. People post pictures throughout the trail so you can get like a really good idea of it's worth going or not. Way easier to see what a trail is like than trying to Google it. And another part is that you can download the trail to your phone. So if you don't have service and you're out there, you can still access it and you can see if you get off the trail. You can tell where you need to go if you get confused. So, highly recommend that app.
That's a very good tip. So I know you were talking to Evan, your husband, and your brother Casey has also tagged along on some of these trips. And I think you were getting some tips, like favorite and least favorite things from them too. So do you want to throw that in here?
Yeah, so I asked them because I was curious after I started thinking about what my favorite was and stuff. So Evan said he loves doing national parks because it's cheaper than other vacations.
Imagine that.
Evan would say that. And I was like, oh, okay, you think it's cheaper? Well, I'm about to start booking the nicest places I can find to stay. Um, he said he loves like being out in nature over man-made things and seeing the different landscapes and terrain. His favorite park was Olympic, and I don't think I said this, but my second favorite is Arches National Park, and he said that was his second favorite too, because it's just so unique. It's just so different. It's stunning. Um, his, and I know I haven't said my high and low moment yet, but his high moment was seeing a bear when we were hiking in Olympic, and he said the adrenaline rush was awesome, and seeing me almost poop my pants was worth it.
I was thinking this was a high moment. This would have been a low moment for me.
It was for me, but it was a high moment.
That's funny.
So yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah. So when we were up on the mountain and we had just went up this super steep trail. Like it was so steep, I almost didn't do it. And we go up this super steep trail. Like I am out of breath. Like you're already at a higher elevation and it's so steep. Um, and then we're walking back down. Kennedy's like a little bit ahead of us, and she comes running back, and she's like, "There's a bear up there." And I was like, "Excuse me, what did she say?" Like, she did not just say there's a bear. She's like, "There's a bear up there." And then we look down the hill, and there's this huge bear walking across the path. And it was so terrifying, but like luckily there were so many people there. There was quite a bit of people between us and the bear. So I was like, okay, it'll eat one of them before it eats us, right? Like,
Yeah, you have time to run.
but I was freaking out and I was like telling Evan, I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like in my head, I needed a plan right then of what we were gonna do. And I was like, there's no way I can run away from this bear because the only way away from this bear is back up this hill. And there's no way I can run up this mountain. Like I told Evan, I said, I would have had better luck just taking off, charging past the bear, like getting my speed up and going down the hill. But yeah, luckily it went on. But that was absolutely terrifying because, yeah, no, thank you.
I can see where a man would think that was a high moment, the adrenaline rush. Like that does not surprise me at all because Jordan would be the same. Like that was the coolest thing ever. Well, you remind me so much of myself when you were saying that. Like I need a plan right now. I need to know what steps to take. That would have been me.
Yeah, yeah. Evan said his low was getting stuck behind traffic and smoking doing cake for an hour and a half. He was so, yeah, he did not like that. He said, you go to the national parks, but sometimes the stuff around the national parks is just as worth going. Like Rocky Mountain, being in Estes Park, that's like a really cool place to be. He loved the town, like Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. He loved that, which he hasn't been a million times like we
Yeah.
have, but he thought that was cool. Um, in Washington, like you fly into Seattle, and so there you can do the big Ferris wheel thing and the Space Needle. Those were super. Um, when we went to Black Canyon of the Gunnison, we stayed in Ouray, and they have an amazing hot springs. That's just beautiful. Like you're in this hot spring, and like you're nestled in between these mountains that are so big. It's just beautiful. Um, like the sand dunes is in the middle of nowhere. There's hardly anything to do there. But we found like the most authentic Italian place I've ever ate at. That was amazing. So you find little gems like that sometimes when you go to these places. But Evan loved the quality of food in South Dakota. And in Moab, Arches National Park, I had the best steak of my life. And I think about that all the time. And I actually got that because the hotel gave us a free gift card. I don't think I've ever told you this, Shelby, or maybe I have. We check into our hotel there and we're in there just a few minutes. And I'm on the floor putting water from our cooler into the fridge. And this random guy, opens our hotel door and is looking at me like, and I'm looking at him like, what in the world?
Oh my
And
goodness.
we're just staring at each other like, what is happening? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And shuts the door. And so, anyway, Evan calls down to the lobby and is like, hey, like, you know, you gave some random guy our room number and a key that opens our door, and like he just walked in on us. And they gave us a gift card to this place, and that's how we went and had the steak that we never would have known about. So
That is
funny moments like
hilarious.
that.
Silver lining
Yes,
in the chaos.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Because that's
For
happened to us before, but the people were in bed. We were
Oh
the
my
people that
gosh.
walked into the room.
I've done it before too, but it wasn't like they had their room thing. You know, the little metal thing that
Yes.
you can put out that
Yes.
keeps the door open?
Yes.
Well, we did that because I don't know, Jordan went to the vending machine. I don't remember what exactly happened. Well, their door was like that too. And I walked into the wrong room.
maybe that happens more than I
No, yeah,
realized.
it definitely does. Because when we walked in there, that man looked at us like he was going to shoot me. And I ran out. And Derek said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, obviously they gave us the wrong room number and key because I just opened that room and I thought the man was going to shoot me." And he just looked at me and he goes, "Well, I guess we're going back downstairs." But yeah, then the man came out of the door and was like, "What are you doing?" I like clearly the door wasn't open, sir. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very startling for both parties.
Casey, my brother, he goes with us sometimes in the summer to these different national parks. And so he said his favorite was Rocky Mountain National Park. He said he loves Estes Park, the town there, and he liked the trails and that had the most animals and a good drive, like you can see from the car, like really cool things, if you're not wanting to hike. And Casey had a cautionary word for anybody listening to really check out the Airbnbs. So, like the one we stayed at in South Dakota, it looked good online, the pictures, but in person it was not. And he said, it may be better to pay a little bit more for a better place.
Yeah.
Some of these places, the elevation is high, and so he has gotten really sick before at some of the elevations that we've been to. What's crazy is like where I live, it's 7,000 feet and I'm fine here for the most part. But when I go up to like Breckenridge, I get sicker than a dog there. And the elevation's only like 9,600, so it's not like that much more. And I've been to places that are higher, like Rocky Mountain National Park, you go up to 12,000 feet. And then like here we've drove up Pikes Peak, which is 14,000
Hmm.
feet. But so some places, I don't know why, they just make you feel so bad. But yeah, elevation, altitude sickness is like a real thing. Some people get really sick from that. So.
You
That's a
know,
good tip.
yeah, I was wondering about that because I meant to ask that whenever you were talking about it. I think when you're talking about the Rocky Mountain, I was going to ask, have you ever had to take a can of oxygen? Have you seen those that they sell now?
Yeah, I've seen those. I've never used them, but I probably could have. I would have if I would have had
You
one.
would have
Some.
needed it running up the mountain from that bear.
Yeah.
You would have needed a gurney and a few cans of oxygen. So what is your high and low then?
Okay, so I gotta share with you my scary moment and my funny moment, and then my high and low.
Okay.
Like I said, steep roads and drop-offs, like that is my least favorite. I have to not think about it. Like I have to like recline my seat or like lay down and close my eyes. Like I just can't deal with it. Um, Also, that hike, the Devil's Garden hike in Moab. Um, I'm so glad we did it. It was beautiful, and I can say I did it, but at the time, it was absolutely terrifying, and that was one of the scariest things I've ever done. And Evan actually told me like I thought we were lost, and he's like, I didn't tell you at the time, but like I was starting to get worried that we were
Oh
lost.
my goodness.
Um, yeah, seeing the bear on the trail, that was also one of my scariest moments because yeah, didn't know what to do. My high is just the whole experience at Olympic National Park. I just keep talking about that one, but that one was by far our favorite. The whole thing was amazing, but like my core memories from that trip was seeing the girls at the first beach we went to. Like they just came alive. They loved it. And like this was not like not picturing like Gulf Shores, white sand and sun. This was like cloudy, overcast, rainy, windy, like,
Hmm.
you know, not like your typical beach experience, but they just loved it. We had went to the rainforest and they liked that. They were so chill. They were hopping in puddles and just like enjoying the rain and stuff. And then we went to that beach and they just lit up, both of them. They loved it. It was so fun seeing them. Um, and then the second beach was even better. It wasn't as cold and windy. And there were so many rocks. It was like a toddler paradise because, toddlers love throwing
Hmm.
rocks into water. There was like all these rocks, and there was this real shallow little creek leading down to the ocean. And Isla stood there and threw rocks into that forever. Like she could have done that all day. That was so fun seeing them do
I
that.
think it's like a black colored beach, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of a
Hmm.
darker color. Yeah, yeah, it was fun. I would say my low moment is like some of the first national parks where we didn't see and do everything. Like I guess what comes to mind is just Mount Rainier because we didn't plan well and we didn't know where to go and we wasted a lot of time trying to find something. Um, I did zero prep for that trip. Like I said, I had a 4-month old, so I didn't really care. And um, no service. It was kind of a flop, but like I said, we did get to a couple beautiful places, and I got one of my favorite pictures, so it was worth it. But yeah, that was kind of a low for us.
Well, if that's a low, I think you're doing good
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
because
it
that's a
wasn't like
low that could be fixed. Like if you ever go back, you could plan differently, and I think that that could be turned into not a low moment.
yeah, it's not like anything terrible happened. So yeah. At the beginning, I didn't talk about my why. I think you asked me why we do national
Yeah.
parks. I don't think I talked. So like I just love being in nature, obviously. Like I just so deeply long to be immersed in the beauty of nature as much as I can. So that's kind of why we do it. We do take other trips. Like, we don't always go to a national park. We've done Hawaii and go to different beaches and stuff, and we've done Vegas and stuff like that. But so we don't always go to national parks, but when we can, we like to try to get to them. Um, and just I don't know, we just want to be outside in nature, and it's just there's just something about being out there and like looking at all the beauty, and seeing all the things that like God created and with your eyes because pictures never do it
Mm-mm.
justice. So well, I'm like, yes, give me all the hiking trails, views, trees, lakes, waterfalls, wildlife. Like it's so inspiring when you're there, and it's almost like healing. Like it rejuvenates you
Mm-hmm.
like nothing else.
I can see that. I feel that way too. Stephanie is not so much that way. She, if you ever catch her hiking, it's because I have her on a leash pulling her behind me. She will never do it. That's why she was asking about the driving, not
Yes.
the hiking.
Yes. No.
But
Yeah.
No.
I love it. I totally agree. Everything you said, like we were not really hikers until 2020 and we didn't have anything better to do. And that's when we started hiking and me and Jordan both really love it.
Yeah. And it's not like some people's like, oh, it's not like an exercise thing. And Shelby knows like I love like organized, I'm gonna call it organized exercise. That's not it. It's just nature is a little bit scary. So like that she said that when she was like, we didn't see any animals. I'd be like, we didn't see any animals. That's great. Like
Mm-hmm.
I totally feel that. I see that. I mean, some of these hikes are longer, and I guess I've never really thought about like what would we do if we encountered a bear right now.
Mm-hmm.
My next thing is getting bear spray for some of these
Yes.
hikes. Just
That's what I was going
but
to ask you if you had bear spray on that hike, but I figured when you freaked out like you did that you probably didn't because
yeah, it's probably wise to do that. I'm not like I don't love like really long hikes. Like I don't like all day hikes. Like I like shorter hikes where I can enjoy it, but then I can be back at the car
yeah.
if I need something.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these have been longer, and you know what? It's been fine in the moment. Like you enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But there are like Arches National Park. All of the best arches are um not far at all from the parking lot. And so a lot of these trails are shorter. You don't have to do an all-day trail at all of these places to really enjoy and get the experience of these national parks. So if you don't like hiking, that's okay. Like you don't have to do those long trails. You can totally um enjoy it on shorter little bitty walks.
That's for you, Steph.
Yeah.
When Shelby comes to Colorado, I'm going to take her to the hot springs. It's not a national park, but I know she would love it. The only thing is it may be summer because she's not coming out here when it's there's a
Mm-mm.
so it may be hot in the summer in the hot springs.
Mm-hmm.
But Shelby, y'all should come out and do sand dunes. Oh, Taylor would love it. It's like the beach, but
I
it's totally different.
really well, I was thinking that when you were talking, we could fly there, and there was so many national parks that you said that are within driving distance. I mean, 6 hours is a long haul, but it's really not. I mean, it's not that bad to do. I mean, 6 hours from your house, and you have all those national parks right there. I already was thinking that.
Yeah, they're not bad. Not a bad drive, and the drives are usually really beautiful.
Hmm.
And like Sand Dunes is only like 3 hours from us. Rocky Mountain's only 3 hours. So yeah, they're not far at all.
Well, Jordan just told me last week that he has an unexpected 2 weeks off this summer, but I think it might be the time that y'all are usually out here. So that stinks, but I don't
Wow.
know. Maybe I'll just go stay in your house and you can stay in mine.
I just want to say, like, can I just encourage you, if you can't go to a national park, go on a smaller adventure. Like, do something outside, visit a nearby attraction, a waterfall, a creek. I mean, just go in your backyard if you have kids or if you don't. But like, just go outside, find a creek, go out in the woods, like, just explore and slow down and just be mindful of all the things around you. Like, there's a whole world to be explored, and there's just something about being out in nature, that is just so good for you.
Hmm.
Um, Highly recommend the book called Rooted in Wonder. It's so good. It's it gives you so much inspiration for getting outside and encouraging wonder in your kids and like even in yourself. But yeah, I think just get outside, no matter what that looks like for you.
Well, thank you so much, Shayna. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have you back after you knock out a few more national parks so you can update us on your adventures.
I think
That
it
sounds awesome.
helped if what I was doing is when she was saying the names of them, I was looking them up, but then I was getting the ADD was getting the best part of me because then I was like looking at all the pictures and like, oh, that would be really neat. Oh, that would be really neat. And then I wasn't listening completely to what she was saying.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures, Shelby.
Okay.
So you can get like a visual with
The
them. They're
the
so
arches is honestly the one that I got swept up in the most.
I think
yeah,
that one's in Utah, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's that one is definitely on my list. I want to go to Moab so bad.
Yeah. I was like gasping
Yeah.
when I saw it. That one looked awesome.
Oh, you can't even imagine then, like in person, it's
Hmm.
even more incredible.
Hmm.
It's so amazing. I love that one. Yeah, that one's only 6 hours from us, so that's like a road
Oh,
trip
wow.
from our house. Yeah.
Well, don't be surprised if you hear a knock on the door and me and Stephanie are sitting there.
Oh, I would love it. Let's go. The more the merrier.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you want to be a guest, leave us a comment, send us a message. May your flights be on time and your luggage never lost. But if it's not, that's where the fun begins. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Pack your dreams, grab your bag. Adventures call, let's zig and zag. From castles tall to ocean waves, magic made for wanderers brave. Theme parks light up the night, starry-eyed in sheer delight. Board the ships, set sail and see endless tales and fantasy. Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, the wonder, feel at home. From rope drop to the fireworks show, lose yourself in the joyful glow. Cruising waters, feeling free, every twist's a memory. Chaos and carry-ons, let's go. Disney dreams in tow, you know. Every flight and every ride, join the journey, come inside.